Hi everyone, welcome to another video from me, James at the CCCX Update. Today I wanted to talk to you about something that really follows on from a previous video I did about getting interviews and getting in front of employers. And it's about the best way of answering interview questions. Now this can apply to people in early stage careers where you might be struggling for examples to bring up, but it certainly applies to pretty much everybody else as well. And it's something you've probably heard about, but maybe you don't thoroughly understand. And that's called the STAR method, which stands for situation, task, action, and result. And it's an example or experience based way of answering core competency questions in interviews. So it's something you need to think about before the interview so that you can structure examples in your mind ready to give to that interviewer so you're best placed to show your skills and experience in the best light. So what we're going to do, we're going to talk about situation, task, action and result individually over this video, and I'm going to give you some examples of what they might look like and give you some things to think about as well. So the situation. Let's start with your situation. You're in an interview, whether it's a video or in person, and the interviewer has asked you a question about something that's on the job description and related in your CV, where you've said you've done something or been in a situation or perhaps alluded to that. And they've said something along the lines of, okay, tell me some more about that, or how might you handle this situation? What you need to do is give them context, paint the picture, right? They need to understand what that work environment or academic environment or out of work, perhaps sports environment looked like, felt like, what was happening, who the stakeholders, the people involved were, and what the sort of as is situation was. So how was it before you were asked to intervene? Paint that picture. So you might say, when I was working at this company, this was the situation. We were using that system, or we were upgrading from that system to that system, or we had this problem. A customer had this problem when I was working in that shop. Something like that. Doesn't need to be War and Peace, but without context, it could be hard for the interviewer to picture where you're coming from. They haven't worked where you have before. They haven't gone to school or college or university where you have before. So you need to put them in the room. You, as I say, paint that picture, create the situation before we then go on to the task. The task. Okay, what were you asked to do, or what did you take on in that situation as you described it before? Now, I've emphasized the word you there on a couple of occasions because this is a really crucial thing. When you're addressing the task that you handled, talk about I did this, I did that, I was responsible for this. You may have been part of a team, and it's fine to say we did this or we did that if it's relevant, but highlight the things that you did as a task. Often people fall down because they'll use the word we, and then it's not clear what responsibilities and accountabilities they had. Was it actually someone else doing the work and you were just following along? Were you doing it under a lot of direction? Or was it you as an individual who handled it solely yourself? You talk about the task that needed to take place in that situation. You had an unhappy customer, you needed to resolve that situation by giving them a refund, returning a product, sorting out some kind of upgrade or change to an account, or you had a system that needed to be updated. You had some new starters where laptops needed to be provided or updated. Whatever the situation was, outline the specific task that needed to be handled as it was laid out to you. And remember, this is relating back to skills mentioned in the job description and in your CV. So keep it on topic. Don't go tangential. This is another place where people fall down. A situation is defined. The task you're given could start to become a little bit wishy-washy, a little bit nebulous, or I had to actually do a few things because that unpacked something else. When I opened Pandora's box, there was so much I needed to do. Okay, don't worry about everything else. Stay on the task. You can flag up those other things and you can say, obviously, there were some other things I had to do as well to get this bit done, but we'll talk about the core task. And that's the task. So now you need to tell them what action you took. The action. This is your time to shine. This is where you say what you did. So what actions you specifically took to resolve the situation and the task. We had a customer that was unhappy, they needed something returned, replaced, or changed. These are the things you did. This is the time to be thorough. It's a time to demonstrate your skills and experience in the specific areas that are related to the job description and mentioned in your CV, and to really dig down. I don't think there's any harm in going really into the weeds. Assume the person who's asked you the question has a ready level of knowledge about what they've asked you. If someone perhaps in a non-technical role has asked you a technical question because it's kind of on their list of questions to do so, yes, you might confuse them a little bit, but at the end of the day, you're demonstrating the best of your knowledge, and you don't know that that's going to be the case for certain. What definitely can trip people out is if someone tries to answer a question perhaps briefly, or they're worried about boring the person or going into too much detail, and then they're not really demonstrating their knowledge. This might be the one question focused on an area of your knowledge that you're particularly proud of. So really do go deep into what it was you did in that action. Go into the weeds. If it's a technical question, this is a great time to do that. Really talking about the various tools and functions you used and why. Why is an important part. Demonstrating not just that you know what to do, but why you do it is a key thing as well. But also with soft skills as well. Demonstrating, there were other things I could have done, but I didn't feel that those were the right things to do. I took this action because for that situation and with that task, it felt like the right thing to do. And that's the opportunity, as I say, for you to be confident, show your experience, show your knowledge, and show off. And then we'll talk about the result. So, in part of my career as SaaS, software as a service sales, we talk about features, advantages, and benefits. This result really could be called benefit, but that would make the four-letter analogy something that if I say it on YouTube, they'll can this video. So we'll call it R for result, but it could be B for benefit. You talked about the task and what you did, but what was the outcome for the customer, for the stakeholder? How did you change how they felt? How did you change the situation from that one at the start? This is really the understanding of your role having impact on the business around you and others around you. And it demonstrates you're not just going through the motions, but that you care and you're passionate, and that there should be some level of enjoyment out of resolving these challenges or these situations. So I think this is really this is the cherry on top of the icing on top of the cake. This is the thing that really makes it stand out. Is so I had an unhappy customer. They needed something changing, resolving, fixing. These are the stages I went through to do it. These are all the tools. This is what I could have done, but I did it this way for a reason. And at the end of the day, the customer was so happy. The customer said to me, "This is fantastic," or they sent me an email, or they hit the green button. They gave me 5 stars. They smiled and they went away happy when they came in, and they were looking angry, whatever it might have been. But that benefit at the end, again, for the interviewer, gives them context. I started off by saying, under situation, paint a picture. I could so easily have said, set a scene. You've now resolved that scene for that interviewer. You've now left them on that narrative journey, seeing the happy ending, the Hollywood ending that we all love. And I think it's absolutely crucial to tell them what the benefit was. Throughout the STAR method, situation, task, action, and then result, or indeed benefit, things to remember. Always talk about I did this. Take accountability, take responsibility. Show and demonstrate the skills and experiences that you've got in detail, in depth. Don't lie, don't mislead. If you don't know something, say that. I don't know it. But perhaps offer an alternative. I don't know that, so what I had to do was this. Show due diligence if you weren't sure about something, or something needed checking, or you work in a regulated environment. Show the process by which you apply rigor, and you're not just doing things on the fly and because it felt right, perhaps, unless your environment gives you the guidelines in which to do that within, and some do, particularly say within contact center and customer services. You do have some leeway on how to resolve situations to make the customer happy, but it's still within the guardrails. And then ultimately show your passion. It's an opportunity for you to talk about something that you've done, right? And so hopefully you were happy with. And the reason that I wanted to do this video is because, yes, this is a method that people will use to answer questions in interview, but it's also a method that you should use to prepare for questions in interview. When you're looking at the job description and you're looking at your CV, think about the parallels. Think about the points that they're probably going to ask you about, and think in advance of examples you can use to talk about to answer those points. And then if you think about it in terms of what was the situation, what tasks did I need to do, what action did I take, what outcome, what result, what benefit was there for the stakeholders, for the customers, you'll start to stretch and exercise those mental muscles that will get you ready to answer questions in that format. Something that I am asked, just as a final point from time to time, do you have to say situation, task, action, result? Absolutely not. Obviously, if you're answering a few questions in a half hour, 45-minute, hour long interview, it can start to become a bit repetitive if the interviewer hears those same notes every time you answer. It's going to be obvious what you're doing, and there's nothing wrong with that. This is a tried and tested core competency question answering tool. But maybe just demonstrate a little bit of creativity to avoid using those words every single time. But I would fully endorse the STAR method as a way of preparing for and answering core competency-based interview questions, whether you're in an early stage career or certainly throughout the whole rest of your career as well. Yes, there are more complex tools that you can use for different sorts of questions later on in your career, but this is something that really everybody who's looking for a job should be taking some time to practice. Stay tuned, subscribe, hit that like button. Any questions, put them in the comments below. I will answer all of them, and stay in touch for more great LinkedIn and careers content.